Hi there and welcome to Introduction to Magic. This is a 60-minute primer for those of you who are coming into the Sage Goddess Soul Shift and Crystal Masters programs for 2021. So I want to say welcome. This is really a gift. This is an offering because I don't know about you, but when I come into a program, whether I'm new or continuing, I just like a refresher on the basics, do you know? And if you're new to working with me and new to working with crystals and with energy and with ceremony, this is kind of everything you need to know to come in and be successful. To be successful in the work that you're going to do, to be successful in our community. And so I'm catching you up to speed. There will, of course, be things that I don't cover in this video for lack of time, or maybe I forgot. But I have tried to be really comprehensive, and I will be trying to anticipate what some of your questions might be and give you some insight. If you could see the floor in front of me, it's covered in tools, and that's because I'm also going to be giving you an overview of the basic tools that you need. Any of these that we have in stock at sagegoddess.com, we will put into what's called our class tools section. And then you have, as a member in our programs, a standing 18% discount to the website. So if there's anything here that you don't have, that we have, that you would like to purchase from us, you're welcome to do that before class starts. If there's anything here that we don't have, you may want to try to source that from another source. We don't have everything. And so some of the things I'm showing you, you may want to make for yourself, or you may want to purchase from another small business, and I think that's great too. So I want to say welcome again. I want to say thank you for choosing my online programs. I've been doing this work for almost a decade now, and I just am so passionate about teaching people how to heal from the inside out. You know, healing is an inside job. And the number one thing you need to know is, in your life, no one will ever heal you. No person out there has all the answers. That's what I've learned in my 47 years around this sun. But people are really good at leaving breadcrumbs for you. And then your job is to pick up those breadcrumbs and follow the next breadcrumb, and then find the next one and follow that. And so today what I'm doing is I'm kind of leaving you a lot of breadcrumbs. And hopefully, even if you've been doing this a long time, there's something in this video where you're like, you know, I never thought of that before that way. And so this video, I think, will be watched. I hope will be watched by everyone. I would love for you to take the hour to watch it, and I hope you enjoy it. And you're welcome to share it with friends and family who you think might enjoy it too, or if this is just your solitary work, then I honor that as well. But I do want to thank you for being here. 2020 has been an incredible year. And I literally mean incredible. Incredible means unbelievable, and it truly has. But we've learned a lot, and we've learned, I think most of us, and I think even people who don't necessarily believe in energy, have learned this year how real energy is and how much we can accomplish virtually. Does it take some learning? It sure does. But I've been teaching online classes for, like I said, almost a decade, and I have seen people completely change their lives without ever meeting me or anyone else in person, which tells you a lot can be done virtually. This is a powerful medium for healing. And I want to inspire you too to think about ways that you as a healer can bring your healing work to people virtually as well. I think that's the way of the future. When I first started doing this work virtually, I think people thought it was a little crazy. You know what I mean? Because, well, you're not touching anyone, you're not in the room, you're not, now it's just it's very common to do a lot of really powerful work remotely. But at the beginning, it was a stretch for people. And so hopefully it'll become even more normal and normalized as the years continue. And I think this pandemic has been an invitation for all of us to find new ways of doing our work. So welcome. I'm going to start today by smudging us. If I can find my lighter. Of course, I have everything here except, oh, here we go. I have everything here except a lighter. I am going to teach you briefly about smudging here as I do this for you. And in some cases, I'm going to be doing the work while I teach you, which I don't know how you learn, but I'm a visual learner, and I learn best through experience. So sometimes I'm going to teach you something by showing it to you. Smudging is the name. It's an indigenous name of an indigenous practice of burning herbs and resins to clear and consecrate and dedicate sacred space. And I always have just a myriad of smudging, clearing, blessing, healing tools in my bowl. And I really let my intuition drive, you know, the bus here in terms of choosing what to have and when to use it. I'm going to show you, because this is the basics, and if you guys love this, we could always do a 2.0 or a 3.0 later in the year where I could show you some more advanced options, because there's a whole universe of options for resins and herbs to burn. But the basics are important, and that's what we're focusing on here, so that's where my attention is going to go today. So the first bundle I have here is juniper with white sage. Juniper is really good for releasing fear and surrendering. It's a big part of our work this year. White sage, the botanical name is Salvia apiana, and she is an absolute master healer. Salvia apiana, which is the sort of silvery white leaves that you see there. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So when I was introduced to white sage, I mean, decades ago, by one of my first teachers who was indigenous, and really taught me sort of the proper way of working with white sage ceremonially to clear and consecrate spaces. When I was in my 30s, I had heard about these people who were farming white sage privately. And so I was probably 34. This was about 13 years ago now. And so I reached out to them and I said, I heard that you're farming white sage. And they said, we are. Do you want to come see what we do? And so I drove. At the time, it was like a 3-hour drive. They are almost to Arizona, at the sort of the base of the California state. And so I drove all the way to find this farm, and it's an incredible place. And even to this day, the white sage that we bring you at sagegoddess.com is from this farm. And what's really cool is they got certified organic. So it's sustainable, it's wild harvested, they do it in the traditional way. They say prayers and blessings when they harvest the sage, and I think it makes a difference. And then our Palo Santo has continued to be sourced and brought to us through the family of someone actually I lost this year to COVID in June. And if you've heard about my crystal room here at home, I have these shelves made out of Palo Santo. They're big, long planks that he gifted me from an old tree, more than 100 years old, and they hang here in my crystal room. It's one of the most incredible gifts I've ever been given. So Palo Santo and white sage for me are daily, and they're non-negotiable. There's never a day. I don't think a day has gone by that I can remember where I didn't burn white sage and Palo Santo. So I do want to encourage you to bring these two particular materials into your sacred space. We always have white sage bundles, and we always have Palo Santo at sagegoddess.com. And when we have big sales and stuff, what a lot of our clients do is they stock up. It's a good time to add more to your cart, make sure you have enough. We have a proprietary technique at Sage Goddess, I don't know if you've seen, where we soak our Palo Santo sticks in essential oils for a few weeks, and then we bake them in the sun, and they're called infused Palo Santo. So like this one is vetiver, this one is labdanum. These are just some of my favorite oils for grounding, for protection. This one called consecration is frankincense and myrrh infused. So you get the benefit of the Palo Santo with the oils. And what's really cool about these, and I'll show you how this works, is when they're infused, you get the energy of the oil and the energy of the Palo Santo. And they light faster and they burn longer, and they give off a little bit more smoke, which means you can use Palo Santo to clear a whole room or a whole house. Normally you can't, because Palo Santo kind of puts itself out really fast, and then it's all done for. So I'll show you how this lights and burns. I've been really using this one over the last couple of days, so I'm gonna light it a little bit extra. Vetiver is one of my favorite oils. My top 4 oils, if you want to know what my favorites are, and here's some vetiver and Palo Santo for you to ground you and bring some healing. My top 4 oils of all time: patchouli, labdanum, champaka, which is a member of the magnolia family, it's incredible, and neroli, which is orange blossom. Those are my 4 favorite essential oils of all time. And then after that, it goes into frankincense and myrrh. I love copaiba. I have lots of favorites, but those are the top 4. I love lavender absolute. which is totally different from lavender essential oil. It's not as sharp. It's a little bit more round. It's a little bit more full-bodied, if you will. Traditional lavender essential oil is kind of sharp and tangy, and I don't love it. When you put it in a perfume, you can always tell when you've added lavender because it's like, you know, it gets really sharp. So lavender Absolute's not like that. It's a little bit more deep, almost like a base note. So, and you can see how this Palo Santo is giving off more smoke, and that's because of the vetiver. That's because of the oil infusion. So you can get regular Palo Santo a lot of different places, even on Amazon these days, or you can get it from us or infused from us. And then the white sage bundles, you need to always have a white sage bundle on hand and probably a couple of backups. White sage is the heavy hitter of the clearing family. White sage in some ways, and I've been taught about white sage by a lot of different people. Nothing really negative can sustain itself in the presence of the smoke of Salvia apiana. Same goes, by the way, for mugwort, which is black sage. But I believe that white sage is even a little bit more powerful than that. And do you see how there's a little bit of red, like glowing right there? If you blow on that, you'll get more smoke. So if your bundle is starting to go out and you're like, oh wait, I still need a little bit more smoke, just blow where it's still glowing. And you'll get a little bit more smoke to cleanse and purify your space. And the reason we keep everything in a shell is that shells represent the element of water in alchemy, in all forms of magic. And what I'm going to teach you today is you want to find balance in your life. You want to find balance in your body. You want to find balance in your space. You want to find balance in your tools. And balance in most traditions is understood to be elemental: earth, air, fire, water, and sometimes spirit. And I'm just taking in that smoke. You know, the smoke of white sage and Palo Santo is antibacterial, antimicrobial, and antifungal. So it really, especially during cold and flu season, it's nice to just receive it, inhale a little bit, you know, take it. Frankincense, if you put a little frankincense essential oil on your pinky finger and just put it right inside your nose, it will coat the mucous membranes, and that's also very protective for your body during cold and flu season. If you're someone who doesn't like to get flu shots and things like that, that's kind of a natural alternative. Other things I have, like this is Shasta sage. I treasure this. I'm burning it very slowly because we're out of the small bundles now, but Shasta sage is a form of salvia that comes from Mount Shasta in California. And Mount Shasta is believed to be one of the places that the Lemurian leadership, the priests and the priestesses, that they fled to after the fall of Lemuria. So Mount Shasta for a lot of us is considered to be a vortex and a sacred space. And so when we can get sage from the base of that mountain, which is what this is, we kind of hoard that. So if you hear me talk about Shasta sage and you're like, what's Shasta sage? That's what that is. The salvia family is huge, the sage family, right? You have common sage, you have kitchen sage, you have salvia from the desert, you have salvia from the northern highlands, you have salvia, you have Russian sage, which is beautiful. That's really powerful for manifestation energies. So I'm going to let that kind of burn off and burn out as I teach you about everything else I have to share with you today. But smudging is such a critical part of your practice, and we have to begin there. If you don't like to burn bundles, stick incense is a nice alternative. I'm going to show you two more alternatives, ways to burn things in your space, because the reality is you should be burning something every day, and it's nice to choose it with intention. Now, copal is a resin that mostly comes from Mexico, and it is extremely powerful for consecrating sacred space. What does that mean? For basically declaring this space is sacred. And it does it effortlessly, easily, without saying anything, without you really having to do anything except light your copal. Now, copal forms in these resin, what they call tears, that you can burn on charcoal. But we have found a source in Mexico for incense sticks. And so what they do is they take a basic stick, they warm and they melt the copal resin into a liquid in a tub, and then they dip the stick and dry it, and dip the stick and dry it, and dip it again and dry it. I think it's about a dozen times, and it formed something like this. Right, so you can see that this is resin. And then you put it into your incense holder, whichever one you like. This was an old one from SG from sometime in 2020. And you light your copal. So you want to light it until the flame catches, like that. This is for any stick incense. And let it burn for just a second. Let the flame catch. And while that happens, it's good for you to set an intention. So my intention in burning this copal today is to clear and consecrate my space, to welcome in energies for us of wisdom and learning, opening our minds and our spirits for the season ahead. And then if it doesn't put itself out, you can blow it out. This one put itself out. And then that's my favorite part, is putting that back on and letting the smoke come through the design. These carved standing burners are one of my favorite things. Isn't that beautiful? So that's copal. And one stick will definitely clear your whole house. Sometimes it's too much and I have to go through and kind of put it out. And you put out copal or any incense sticks just like a cigarette. I can show you that too. So when you feel like you've had enough, let's say I'd had enough now, right? Because you can really hotbox yourself and end up with a very smoky room. What you want to do is take your incense stick and turn it upside down and just tamp it, like I said, almost like a cigarette, like you're putting out a cigarette, and twist it until you're through that top layer of ash. And keep twisting and pushing it down, and you will put it out like that. And then you can put it back in, and then you can light it again tomorrow. And in that way, one stick will really last you. Sometimes one stick will last me for a month. It just depends on how much I'm burning it. If I don't burn copal in my house, the kids ask me what's wrong, because they know most days I burn copal. It's just a nice way to start your day. And if you're from Mexico or Central or South America, or from Greece or Italy, you're probably gonna say it smells like church. That's because a lot of us who come from Catholic and Orthodox countries, they do use copal as one of the ways of cleansing and purifying sacred space in churches. So that can be familiar to you too. And for me, it's just a very calming, very centering experience. So I hope you enjoy working with white sage, palo santo, and copal at a minimum this year as your allies in the cleansing and purification process. Okay, so now that we've cleared our space, when I do ceremony, when I have class this year, you're going to see me open and close class with a bell. And why is that? Or you can use tingshes, if you know what tingshes are, from the Tibetan tradition. A lot of the tingshes that we bring you are handmade in Nepal. When you ring a bell like that, that's a very high-pitched, high-frequency sound, and it's believed that the spirits recognize it, and that it's a signal to the spirit world that you are about to pray or hold ceremony or raise energy. And it signifies the beginning and the ending of your circle or your ceremony or your class. So you will often hear me work with a bell, and that's the reason why. It's very important for that process of cleansing and opening and then closing space. So you'll see that certainly before and at the end of our classes together this year. Okay. One of the most important parts of Soul Shift and Crystal Masters this year is our work with the elements. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why that is. You know, when I began my journey, I was always on a journey spiritually since I was a child. And I don't want to digress too much and have this be a 6-hour preview for you instead of a 1-hour preview, but I've always been on a quest. My parents would tell you if they were sitting here, they'd be like, she's always been on a quest. And so my earliest life, I remember just wanting someone to teach me. And my mom was raised in a Christian family. My grandmother was a minister, so she had lots of gifts. My mom is a channel and a medium and very gifted, automatic writer. but what had no formal training and wasn't allowed to explore anything outside of Christianity. So the minute I had a chance to explore something outside of Christianity, I did. And so I went through and almost completed a priestessing program, a Wiccan program at the beginning of my journey in my late teenage years up until I was about 19, early 20th year before I left. And I left that program because what I realized is my Christian roots are really strong. It's hard for me to acknowledge both a God and a goddess. I still believe in the concept of God. I believe in the concept of a single source. I do believe that single source expresses itself in the masculine and in the feminine. But I believe in a single unifying force in this universe. And because I couldn't see that force as dual, not in a literal sense, it became very difficult for me to continue on a pagan path. Having said that, I have no judgment. A lot of people in our community are pagan. This is not, however, a pagan or a Wiccan program that you have joined. That isn't my faith tradition. It's not my practice. I work with gods and goddesses, but I view them archetypally. And so I just want to make that clear too. You have not signed up for a program in witchcraft. You have not signed up for a program in pagan training. When you become initiated as a priestess or as an alchemist through my program, it doesn't entail that. And so there are programs out there where you can get specific Wiccan and pagan training, but I do want to remind you that that isn't necessarily what we do. And what I think you're going to find in my practice is that my training and my background has become very inclusive. I have trained with teachers who are Native American and Indigenous, who come from Central and South America, who are trained in some of those faith traditions and wisdom traditions. The Karo shamanic tradition, one of my teachers comes from that tradition. I have a teacher that was trained in Brazilian plant medicine ceremonial traditions. And so I have teachers that come from those traditions as well. And so my practice, you'll find, is very hybrid. It's inclusive, and I don't reject any tradition, because what I have learned across all these years and decades is there really is one source, and it goes by different names. Do you know? And we call it different things depending on where we're born and who our families are and what we learn and what we get exposed to and what resonates with us. But I think it's all the same energy. I really do. I think there is one cosmos, one multiverse that goes by many names and practices many forms of magic. But I think there is one unifying narrative that somehow still connects us all across space and time. When I talk to you about the elements, I have decided in my teaching, because it resonates most with me, to really focus on the Lakota medicine wheel. There are different medicine wheels that place the elements at different directions. If you've been with me for a while, you know this already, but I see the east as air, the south as fire, the west as water, and the north as earth. And you can see the heart as the center, or spirit as the center of that wheel. There are other wheels out there that place and plot the elements at different coordinates. And so just to be consistent, and because it's the most common medicine wheel that's worked with in spiritual traditions, I have chosen to focus on the Lakota medicine wheel. That is what I will be teaching you. That's what most people know and understand. But certainly if you do start to explore Central American, South American, and some other indigenous traditions around the world, you may hear that the east is not air, and that just means you're working with a different medicine wheel at that time. And ultimately for you, what you'll have to decide is, which medicine wheel do you want to align to? I teach the most common correspondences in my classes because my classes are open to the public, and I try to use what's most commonly accessible and understood. So the Lakota medicine wheel is what we are following here. And the Lakota medicine wheel is a circle. It's cut into 4 slices. The eastern slice is yellow or gold. It corresponds to dawn, or the beginning of a new day, and the element of air. And then the bottom quadrant is red. That corresponds to the element of fire, and that represents midday, high noon, really juicy, passionate energies of creation and playfulness and transformation. And then that left hand quadrant is the west. That's usually black or blue in color, associated with the element of water. And that quadrant is around releasing emotional purification and healing, also associated with energies of the mother and nurturing that way, unconditional love. And then the northernmost quadrant is the earth quadrant, and that's colored either white or green, and it represents the quadrant of the ancestors, the quadrant of the grandparents. Usually it's more of a masculine quadrant. Slower moving creatures in the north, like buffalo and elk. It's a direction that reminds us to slow down and go within and to stay anchored in our practice. And so that is the medicine wheel that I teach you. So again, the east is morning, the south is noon, the west is sunset, and the north is evening. And so that completes also the cycle of a day. So we can see each one of the directions aligned to a time of day as well. And so when I call in, when we open a circle, and I'm going to talk to you in just a second about when and how and why to open a circle. When we open a circle and we call to the guardians of the east, the guardians of the south, the guardians of the west, the guardians of the north, the reason that we're doing that is we are acknowledging that these are energies in the universe, right? When we talk about the guardians of the gateways, or the elementals, as some people call them, or elemental spirits, I believe that each one of these directions is a portal. It's a doorway to unique kinds of energies that can support you in your healing and in your practice. And when we call in the east, the south, the west, and the north, we always do it clockwise. When we release the directions, we do that counterclockwise. In pagan practice, they call that Deosil, which is clockwise, toward the sun, and Widdershins, counterclockwise, which is away from the sun. So why do we do this? Your goal in working with energy is to work within a tight container. Meaning you want to open a circle of energy. So when you see me take my selenite wand, and some of you have soul shift tools. We had a selenite wand this month that you can use for this purpose. This is one I've had for quite a few years now, and this is my favorite tool for opening ceremonial circles. When you open a circle, you are going to the right. You are directing that wand in a clockwise motion. I call that opening a circle. Some people call that closing a circle, but it seems awkward to call it closing a circle when you're just beginning. So I call that opening a circle. And then when I close a circle, I go to the left. And that is releasing the energy, right? Closing the ceremony. So we open to the right, Deosil, toward the sun, what they call in Native American practice, sunwise. And when we close a circle at the end of ceremony, we go Widdershins against the sun, or what the Native Americans call moonwise, right, toward the moon. So to the right is toward the sun, to the left is toward the moon. And that completes the ceremony and seals the container. So when you call in the directions, the guardians of those directions, basically what you're doing is you're just asking them to hold the edges. It's like taking a bed sheet and trying to spread it out so that people can all be on the same sheet together, sitting together. And you might give one corner to 4 different people so they can really hold it tightly, right? So that the sheet doesn't get bunchy, or you lose the edge on one side. So you might assign 4 people to go and hold the edges of that sheet just so that the 4 edges are being held. That's kind of what the guardians of the gateways are. So when we call in the east, we know that quadrant is locked. You can hear the energy almost go shoo, 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 right? And all of a sudden you've got a much tighter container. Why does that matter? Energy in this universe is vast. As humans, we can't see very much. And the reason that we can't see very much is that in order to have a human experience, our spirits have had to take what is a naturally really high vibration and a spin. Your spirit, if you can't see ghosts because they're too high vibrational. In order to be human and to see each other, and for me to see you and you to see me, we have to slow our vibrational rate down, which makes us eye visible to each other in the 3rd dimension. But it also means that we can't see other things going on in the spirit world. But there is a lot going on in the spirit world. Those of us who do plant medicine can tell you about it because we've seen it, and I've been working with plant medicine for a long time. You don't have to work with plant medicine to see it. Some people can see it just by walking around. They're clairvoyant, and so they don't have to have something to pierce the veil, as we say. They don't have to have some kind of assistance to be able to see other dimensions, but most people can't see it. But so the reason we open a circle when we're raising energy or directing energy or doing healing work is that there is a lot of energy in this universe, and it's vast and it's neutral. But there are lower vibrational energies, what we call, I don't like to call it darkness because I think darkness is a natural part of light. I don't think you can even really understand light without dark, right? How would you understand light without shadow? We need contrast to understand. But there is good and evil in the universe. And I have a lot of space for the former and no space or tolerance for the latter. What I've learned through practice and experience, and again, with teachers from many different traditions and pantheons and lineages, is that there is a force in this universe that is not for our highest good. And when I do ceremony, I don't want those energies in my space. And so that's why I open a circle. That's why I call in the guardians of the four directions to be present the whole time we're working, doing, gathering, building energy. And then I release them when we're done because we're no longer raising energy or directing energy or doing healing work. So I hope that makes sense. I am quite a stickler for opening circles. I always say, when in doubt, open a circle. It's not like you're going to abuse that. You don't need to open a circle every 5 minutes, though. You don't need to open a circle to meditate or eat a meal or pray, or you don't need to open a circle every time you do anything. But if you're going to do healing work, if you're going to do a ceremony, if you're going to be drumming and calling in energies and trying to activate something, or if you're in an intense portal, like I'm sitting in one right now with you, which is between, the 12th of December, which is our portal of evolution that leads us through this gateway and all the way to Yule, and this conjunction of our biggest planets in our solar system, right? So this is a time where there's a lot of energy. I'm erring on the side of caution and opening a circle to do any kind of work that I'm doing right now. So you can't really abuse the privilege. You just don't always have to feel compelled to do it. If you're reading for people or doing healing work, it's just a good practice. So what does it mean to open a circle? So that's what I showed you. I like to open a circle with selenite. You can also open a circle with quartz. And in fact, most single terminated wands, these are both single terminated, meaning they have either a round stone or no stone on one end and a point, a termination on the other. This is single terminated. A double terminated wand, I should have grabbed one to show you, has 2 points. So it would have a quartz point here and a quartz point here. That would be double terminated, 2 terminations. This is single terminated, round here, pointed here. This is all you really need to open a circle and close a circle. The only time you need a double terminated wand is when you are trying to actively send and receive energy, like a transmitter. So let's say I'm doing healing work on you remotely and I want to send it and I want you to receive it. And I also want to be able to receive from you and have you send to me. If I'm using this tool, I can gather up energy here and send it to you. But if I want to receive from you, I have to turn it around. The termination is where the energy gets directed. If this were terminated on both sides, I could send and receive to you, and you could send and receive from me, and I wouldn't need to turn the wand around. That's the benefit. I also like to activate grids with double terminated because as I go around, it is open to receiving energy and transmitting energy back to the universe. It's more of a communication piece as opposed to this, which is sort of universally pointing energy in one direction. So in terms of basic tools that you need to have, I'd like to see you have a selenite wand of some kind. It can just be a bar of selenite. It does not have to be fancy. I bring you beautiful things as part of my job. So I've had a lot of options of selenite wands for you, but you don't need anything too fancy. But I would like you to have a selenite wand. I'd like you to have a single terminated quartz wand of any kind. And I'd like you to have a double terminated quartz wand of any kind, meaning it can be aventurine, rose quartz, smoky quartz, citrine, clear quartz. Those are all quartz-based minerals. Why is quartz so important? And why is selenite good for opening circles in place of quartz? Selenite is pure white light energy. It doesn't hold a vibration. It's one of only 2 minerals in the mineral kingdom. The other one is black kyanite. These 2 minerals do not need to be cleared because they don't hold any vibrations. So they don't hold positive, they don't hold negative, they're just neutral and they stay in neutral. So black kyanite, anything it touches, instantly cleared. Selenite, anything it touches, instantly cleared, and you don't have to baby these, you don't have to take care of these. All your other minerals do absorb a vibration and have to be cleared. They don't have to be cleared all the time. You should use your intuition. It doesn't have to happen every single month. And if you're not using them, it's probably less frequent. But this is holding a vibration. These are not. This can be programmed. These cannot. That's the upside of these is you don't have to clear them all the time. The downside is you can't program them. The upside here is you can program it. The downside is it's holding the frequency. So you do have to clear it and take more care of it. So these are some of your basic tools that you will want to have. Other basic tools you'll want to have, a quartz generator is a good basic. If you were in Soul Shift in 2020, you got 12 of them. So you have more than you need in terms of having a generator collection. What's a generator? You want to have a quartz generator. And again, it can be rose quartz, aventurine, smoky quartz, amethyst. These are all quartz-based minerals, so it doesn't have to be clear quartz if you're not a fan of clear quartz. I love clear quartz, so I collect quartz generators. A generator is flat on the bottom, terminated on the top. And so what generators do is they create a little fountain of energy or a vortex of energy. They're like little transmitters. And again, they can be programmed because all quartz can be programmed. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a second so that if you don't have a mineral, but you wish you did, you're like, God, I wish I had black tourmaline right now. I really need some protection. Or wow, I really wish I had aventurine. I have a job offer tomorrow or an interview tomorrow and I need to, do my best. You can program quartz to behave as if it's any other mineral. And so it is really true when people say, all you need is quartz, because quartz can act as if it's any other mineral if you don't have the other mineral that you're looking for. So that's kind of fun about quartz too. Other tools you'll want to have in your collection, I highly recommend, and we have a lot of different options for you at sagegoddess.com. And again, these are things that you can also find in other places too. I do recommend that you have a set of what we call the platonic solids, and they look like this. These are 7 sacred geometric shapes. They're called the platonic solids because Plato, who's a Greek philosopher, named them that. And Plato said, and he was accurate, even if you ask modern day particle physicists, right? The best physical minds in our academies, in people who are mainline physicists in Western society today will tell you, these are still the building blocks of nature. And so each one of them, aside from the Merkaba and the sphere. The sphere is included in the Metatron's cube, for example. Spheres radiate energy in all directions, 360 degrees to be precise. And then the Merkaba, which is what this looks like, is a spinning disc. We used to use these in ancient times to transport ourselves between dimensions. And so Merkaba in ancient Egyptian means light spirit body. And so we used to be able to pop our little light body in here and move between 3rd dimension, 5th dimension, 9th dimension, wherever we needed to go. And to this day, there are people who believe, and I'm one of them, that when you were born, your spirit came into your body through one of these. And when you die, your spirit will leave your body through one of these. And so it's a very important shape. These 5 are the platonic solids. These 2 are not. These are sort of like party bonus extras. But I always put them in my platonic solids sets. We have our own made for Sage Goddess, which is why ours are 7, but a lot of times you see them as 5. Because I think these are like the completer set. And it is nice to have all 7 of these really important sacred geometric shapes. The Metatron's cube includes the other 6. So really when you have this one, you have all of these too, which is pretty neat. So the sphere radiates energy in all directions. The tetrahedron, or the triangle, represents the element of fire and transformation. And that is three sides on the sides. These are all polygons, right? They're equilateral sides. And so you can see that's the tetrahedron. The isosahedron, which is what you see here, is associated with the element of water. And the isosahedron has all of these triangular faces. And in fact, all of the polygons, except for the dodecahedron, which I'll show you in just a second, have triangular faces or square faces. There's only one polygon, and it's this one right here, the dodecahedron, that has pentagonal faces. All of the faces are pentagons, 5-sided. Do you see that? And this is the element of ether or spirit. The cube, or the hexahedron, is the element of earth, right there. And did I tell them all to you? Yeah, the tetrahedron is fire. Oh, the octahedron is air, 8 sides. And so it's 2 tetrahedrons, right? One pointing up, one pointing down is your element of air. So air, then you have water. See the triangular side? Then you have earth with your cube, your hexahedron. Then you have spirit or ether with your dodecahedron. You have fire with your tetrahedron. And then you have your sphere and your Metatron's cube, which don't have specific elemental correspondences, but nonetheless are very important for the movement of energy, the conduction of energy in your space, and will raise the vibration and the frequency. Okay. So we've talked about, so far, the medicine wheel, when and how to call in the directions. One thing I will tell you is, if you want a specific elemental invocation, in my book of blessings, I wrote one for you. It's the original one that I've shared through Sage Goddess all these years. That is still, to date, my best invocation of the elements, but it's a long one. I want to invite you to write your own. What I do when I'm with you in ceremony is I do mine on the fly. At this point in my practice, I just feel into it and the words that come to me in the moment, and I just trust the process. So what you'll want to do in your practice is think about which way to approach the invocation, the calling in of the guardians of the elemental gateways, and maybe even write your own. Feel into it, come up with something creative and new and unique that has your signature, your fingerprint on it. And you can use the one that I have in my book of blessings, which you can find on Amazon if you'd like, or just watch and listen to what I do in ceremony and in class and riff on it, come up with your own. I think you'll enjoy the process of personalizing your invocation to the elements as well. Okay, so let's talk about, now that we've talked about all of our crystal shapes and some of the most important crystals to have in your collection, let's talk about how to program quartz. Let me see. So quartz is silicon dioxide. It's the most common mineral on the planet. You'll find it on every continent in every country. And so that's why it's affordable, it's accessible, but it's also very powerful. The clearer your quartz is, by the way, the higher the vibration it is said to hold and carry. These are the water quartz pieces that we have at sagegoddess.com, which I recommend, especially if you're gridding. You want to use really high vibrational quartz. And we always have this in stock at a really, I think these are like 75 cents a piece. So this is some of the best quartz you can get, and the quality is amazing. So how do you program a piece of quartz? What I like to do is take it in my left hand, cover it with my right hand, and set my intention. So my intention for this quartz, and you can do anything. You can program quartz to lower its vibration to help you sleep. You can program quartz to raise a vibration of healing in your space. You can program quartz to behave as another crystal. So let's say I really wanted black tourmaline right now, but I don't have it. So I can put it in my left hand, cover it with my right hand. Sometimes I blow my breath across it, because that's your life force, and it helps to raise a vibration and a frequency, personalizes your magic and your work, and set the intention. So I intend that this quartz will take on the chemical and metaphysical properties of black tourmaline until I release it from that purpose. Amen, aho, and so it is. And you can use visualization just to imagine that quartz changing its chemical, metaphysical, geological properties to adapt and align because quartz receives and holds the vibration. And it's so easy to communicate with quartz. The one thing most people do say, and all of my teachers have agreed about this, quartz does, because it's so energetically porous, it does develop a relationship with its owner. And so they always say if you have quartz and you've been working with it for a long time, don't sell it, don't give it away. Quartz develops a relationship with you over time. And so the longer you work with it and the more carefully you align with its energies and allow it to, its energies to align with you too, the more it almost gets to know you. It picks up the frequency in your space and your work with it gets more profound over time as time goes by. So my hope is you'll find that your relationship with quartz deepens, that you learn more about it, it learns more about you, it kind of learns your flow, you learn its flow. And it really doesn't matter where your quartz comes from in the world, whether it comes from Brazil or from, like I said, you'll find quartz on every planet. There's beautiful quartz in the US and Arkansas. There's Herkimer diamonds in New York. The clearer it is, the higher the vibration, no matter where it comes from. So that's important for you to remember too. Okay. The next couple of things I want to teach you are really about energy work and what that means and how to prepare yourself on an energetic level for the work that we're going to do this year. I want to talk a little bit about practical magic and what does that mean? Some daily practices, a centering prayer, the role of music, the role of intention before your actions, and some of the basic things that I do every day to help me prepare for magical work. I thought that might be useful for you as well. So before you get out of bed each morning, you should have a practice of what I call a centering prayer. That's what I do before I leave the bed. And the more you do it, the easier it'll be just to get into the routine of doing this. I like to start my day not with please, but with thank you. Thank you to my spirit guides. Thank you to my creator. I call it God. You can call it whatever you would like. Thank you for our health and our abundance and our peace and our joy. And I always set an intention for my day. My intention is to move through this day with ease and with grace, to be of service. My grandmother used to say, God, use me, in whatever way you need, whatever resonates with you. But I would recommend you come up with some quick mantras. May I be of service. May I flow through this day with ease and grace. And put it on a Post-it note, put it on your mirror. You can also start working with mantras and with simple affirmations all through your day. I attract love with ease. I attract prosperity with ease. I am abundant. I am love. My heart is open. I'm available and accessible. I'm here to be of service. Whatever your guiding sort of principles are, center yourself with those in the morning before you jump out of bed and get your day going. One of the things I will consistently teach you, and one of the secrets to my success, I believe, is consistency. I value consistency. I try to do certain things every single day. I smudge every single day. I say my centering prayer every day. I take a salt bath with Epsom salt and essential oils every single day. That magnesium in your Epsom salts is really good for moving energy through your body. It's good if your muscles get sore. Sometimes your muscles being sore is a sign that you're anchoring too much energy, contracting too much, taking too much on, rather than releasing, letting go, letting energy move through you. Try to get outside every single day, especially now when the energy is just so intense on our planet. Try to spend time in nature. Touch the trees, touch the plants, pick the fruit, put your hands on the ground. I know it's hard, some of you. There's a nor'easter on the eastern seaboard today, so I know getting outside and putting your feet on the earth is impossible every single day. But to the extent that you can connect with nature in a more mindful and intentional way, make space for that. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, it will make all the difference for you. You would not believe, or maybe you would, how many people don't go outside, especially now during the pandemic, and they don't touch nature, and they don't have plants growing indoors, and they've lost the connection with the natural world. And yet that natural world is the core and the essence of our magic. It's the reflection of our magic. Nature teaches us how to go through cycles gracefully. She teaches us in the wintertime how to shed our leaves and how to retreat and conserve our energy. And she teaches us in the summer to grow and expand and show off and, you know, be colorful and vibrant. And if we follow her lead, then we're always right on time. And so each year is this invitation for you to move through those 4 seasons, those 4 cycles once again, with a sense of excitement and curiosity and what we call the beginner's mind, right? That each year there's something new in you that's ready to be reborn. And so making time and space for nature is also very important as well. Music is very important. If you go to SoundCloud.com, I have all of my playlists on there are free, and you can follow me on SoundCloud. It's Athena Perrakis, Athena Perrakis, ATHENA-PERRAKIS. If you look for me on SoundCloud.com, I have ambient playlists that you can some of them are 24-hour playlists. So if you press play, it's not going to repeat a song for a full day. I leave that running in my house on Sonos all the time, my ambient playlist. I've got my faves. I've got 2 ayahuasca playlists there. I have a playlist from Momo of some fun dance music. I have Christmas playlist. I have, what else is on there? I mean, there's a lot on there. So, and my playlists are not the only playlists, but I've taken a lot of time over the last couple of years to curate those. Some of my teachers, my ayahuasca shaman, has shared his playlist with me on SoundCloud, so you have access to a lot of his music there too, and that's all free for you. You'll find other people on there that you like too. I don't use Spotify, so I only have SoundCloud playlists, but they are at your service. There is a Soul Shift playlist on there. There's a Priestessing playlist on there, so I hope you'll enjoy those. Music is really important. Music, especially music that's been composed in some of these frequencies and these hertz ranges that align us with healing and abundance and a sense of joy and peace. I think once you start listening to vibrational music, you will experience a shift. You have to remember that music is magic, and it holds the energy of the person who recorded it and the time in which it was recorded. And so starting to shift your listening habits toward music that is high vibrational is one way to begin to open up to these new frequencies and new energies. And even introducing your family and your friends to it. You can listen to it while you sleep. Some people run my playlists all night long. You're welcome to work with those as well. Intention is everything. I don't think I can overscore that enough for you, truly. You should set an intention before you eat. That's what saying grace is. You don't have to say grace, but you can just say, may this food bless my body. May my body be able to open and receive and digest this food easily, right? May it nourish every cell in my body. Intentions when you are online, when you're in our communities, in our Facebook groups. I'm very maternal when it comes to how I hold our Facebook communities. And 99% of the time, people are in just absolute right alignment and they're coming in with the right intentions. Every once in a while, we have someone who is disruptive or creates a disturbance in our communities. And I'm pretty vocal about that. I will intervene and become very involved. I'm very protective of our online spaces. My request to you is this, and I always try to say this at the beginning of each year. Our Facebook groups are sacred spaces. When you come into them, it's important to enter with intention. When you post in them, it's important to post with intention. This year, I am setting up a new policy where I am cordially requesting that people not post the same post in Soul Shift and in Crystal Masters at the same time. There's been a little bit of a pattern of that this year. I think if you're going to post, if you're in Soul Shift and Crystal Masters, if you're going to post something, really think about where it should go. The same post probably doesn't need to go in both places. Keep in mind, first of all, that everybody who's in Soul Shift is in Crystal Masters. So if you post the same post twice, some people are going to see it twice, literally verbatim. And so I want to encourage you to curate what you post and only post your posts once in one place. And if you feel like you want to reach more people, if you're in both programs, Crystal Masters is a larger Facebook group. So if you're looking for feedback or thoughts, or you want to share something and you're hoping that people will see it, that's probably the better place for you to post if you're trying to reach more people at once. Try to be positive, and when you ask for something, try to offer something back. Our groups are places for you to learn, grow, and practice. That's the number one thing for you to know. But one of the things that I want to discourage you from this year is, don't just come into the groups, and say, I need help, please help me, please help me, please help me, or fix this, or, how do I do this? Or try not to come in and into the Facebook groups and the communities and just be asking for something all the time. If you ask for something once, then the next time you post, try to offer something back. This concept of reciprocity and balance is hugely important to me in my own life. If I go in my life and ask someone for a favor, I try to remember that the next time I approach them, I should offer something back. Because otherwise there's no reciprocity. Otherwise it's just give me, give me, give me, and then give me, give me, give me more. And then, oh, wait, after you're done giving me, can you give me something else? Our Facebook communities are not support groups. And people are not just there to witness you and help you and pour energy into you. They are there as learning grounds and practice arenas for you to notice your growth and ask for feedback. If you need prayer, the prayer group, the Sage Goddess prayer group, is the best place to go, unless you're coming in and saying, could you please pray for me? And also, I'm trying to understand what this situation means. Could you guys help me interpret this or understand this better? But sometimes in the past, we've had people who just come into the groups and every single post they make is help me, see me, pray for me, pray for me. I just want to remind you this year that that is not really the purpose of our Facebook groups. Our Facebook groups are places for you to talk about what's going on in your life, but always from a place of, how can I grow from this? What does this mean? Do you guys have any feedback? And then if people, again, give to you on one post, next time you post, maybe say, I'm coming in today just not to ask for anything, but just to give something back. So I'm going to put this post up, and if you need good energy, I've got a little fountain of it going today, and you can tap into this energy and receive. And I'm just here to offer blessings of peace and joy. Maybe you take a picture of your garden or a picture of your crystal collection just to raise the vibration. But try not to always be at a place of asking for something. Try to consciously, when you've asked and you've received, to come back then and offer something in return, so that you start to participate in this idea of sacred reciprocity. It is very important. And this is something that, if it's a pattern in your online life, you may want to also look at it as a potential pattern in your personal life. Every relationship needs reciprocity. And again, most people want to give support and help to you, but at some point it's also nice if there's a little bit of like, okay, so what can I do for you now? Or how can I repay this gift that you've given? Or thank you so much for seeing me. Now it's my turn to give back to you. I'm going to be looking for that this year, and I will remind you if I start to see a pattern where there's too much take, not enough give, or too much give, not enough take, too, can be the other thing too. Some people, it's just constant giving, and I stop sometimes and go, what can we do for you? You're always here for people, you're always organizing things, you're always offering, you're always channeling, what can we do to be a source of support for you? So keep in mind, I'm especially this year looking for balance, and I will be guiding you in that way too. And so if you can be looking for balance and thinking about how you engage, when you've taken too much, try to give back. When you've given too much, try to receive. And that's how you'll create some really beautiful sacred reciprocity for yourself too. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else there that I might have missed. I think that's it. The other thing, I do want to talk briefly about the ethics of magic, because this is an important beginner subject, and energy is real. Before you can do energy work for anyone other than yourself, you need permission. I wouldn't even do energy work for you without your permission, even though you're in my class and in my Facebook group probably, and in my community. Unless you specifically looked at me and said, Athena, could you please add me to your prayer list or something like that, I would never do that without your permission. So please, if you're going to be trying to offer help or assistance, please make sure you have the explicit permission of the person that you're working with and for. This goes not just for our communities, but this goes for your friends and family and so on. This goes to a central concept in magic of free will, right? You may think someone in your life really wants you to fix them, change them, solve their problems. So 2 things I want to say about this. Always remember, healing comes through you. It's not of you. You and I are not the ones who are doing the healing. At our very best, on our best day, we are channels for a higher frequency that comes from a source of power that far surpasses our own. This is my core belief. And so it's not coming, when I say, you'll never hear me say, I will now heal you. I mean, all I can really do is open a container and direct energy with intention. But that energy isn't Athena. That is the one source. And if I'm doing my job, then I'm able to hold that frequency and direct it, but it's not coming from me. It's coming through me. So I want to remind you of that too. That humility is really, really important. So please, in our communities and in your personal life too, since you're in this container and so you are now my responsibility, I want to make sure you remember it comes through you, but it's not of you. And please make sure you have other people's permission to support them and help them before you engage in any healing work. Same thing goes with intentions. We have to allow for free will. So let's say I'm setting an intention for love. And let's say, I always use the example of the name Bob. I don't know why I choose Bob. I don't really know people named Bob in my life. So Bob is kind of a safe name, but it's okay to set an intention to receive love or to seek love from someone new. It is not okay to say, I want love from Bob. And you may be laughing, but I always have to say this in a beginner's class or in an introductory class, because some people don't know that it's not okay to say, I want love from Bob, because magic is real and that can interfere with Bob's free will. Bob has the right not to love me. So if I claim that as an intention, I can end up creating kind of a cosmic mess for myself. And if I interfere with other people's free will, that isn't the kind of energy that I really want to return to myself. So always set open-ended intentions, leave room for people's personal will and freedom, and try to keep your intentions generalized, letting the universe fill in the specifics and the blanks for you. That's the best way to manifest. Also, another example I always like to give, people will say, I just want to manifest money, just money, 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 right? You always want to manifest the highest good for yourself. And you always want to manifest not just your highest good, but the highest good of everyone else who's here too. Because think about it, if you manifest something that you think is in your highest good, but it actually isn't in service of the highest good of the collective, right? Or what if it isn't in your highest good, right? There's this story about that, you'll always hear in these kind of introductory programs where somebody said, I just want money from wherever it comes. I just want money, money, money. And that person ended up getting money, but through an inheritance because they lost someone they loved. And I know that's an extreme example, and I'm not saying that would happen to you. But it is very important to be specific with the universe. It functions in the domain of specificity, and words are magic. So a good intention, here's an example, is I would like to attract wealth from sources in support of my highest good and the highest good of everyone around me at this time. And I ask for those blessings to come through natural pathways of ease that don't require the shifting or changing of circumstances that may ultimately not be in alignment with my highest good. So I trust the universe to bring this energy to me in the highest vibrational way, in alignment with my absolute highest good and the highest good of those around me, and in particular of those I love. May that resource come to me in a way that's easy, and that does not disrupt any of my partnerships or alliances in any way that would not support, again, my highest good. And just kind of putting those safeguards in place, because the universe responds to every request that you make. It has to respond. And so this is where magic gets tricky, because you want to leave the door open to the universe, but you also want to be clear you aren't just asking for whatever you want by any means, right? I mean, at least I don't think you are. I think you want to improve your life and your health and your abundance. but in alignment with your absolute joy, right? And with your peace and with everything supporting your purpose and your path at this time. And so come up with some language and some ways of thinking about that, and start to be mindful of the fact that you are, with your language, shaping the experience that you will have. You know, you may want to lose weight, but you want to lose weight because you're healthy, not because all of a sudden you become unhealthy and you lose weight that way. That doesn't serve your highest good. So you can say, well, I'd like to lose 10 pounds, but in a completely healthy, effortless, and painless way that, again, is in the support of my absolute vibrant health and highest good at all times, versus just, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference, and those nuances in magic are really important. And as you go on your path, you'll see people doing things where you're like, and it'll be an opportunity for you to teach and say, you may want to reframe that intention. Are you sure that the way you frame that is in absolute alignment with your highest good? The other way you can do it is always add to at the end, this or something better, which leaves space for the universe to maybe know a little bit more than you do about the circumstances at hand, which will ultimately lead to you receiving something that's in greater and more powerful alignment with your desires at the end of the day. So I hope that's helpful too. Okay. Let's see. The last thing I want to tell you about really briefly, a couple just high-level things for your consideration. You're going to hear us talking about astrological signs this year. I like astro.com. You should run a natal chart for yourself, okay? Your natal chart is your birth chart. You're going to need to know the city you were born in and the specific hour and minute of your birth as close as you can. The minute of your birth really changes, the hour and minute changes your rising sign more than anything. And your rising sign is your ascendant sign. It's the sign that's coming up on the horizon as you're born. Your rising sign, think of that as your mask. It's what people come to know of you before they know you. The real you is your sun sign. So I'm Sun Leo. I am a Leo. You look up Leo in the dictionary, there's a picture of me. I'm a very true Leo, but I'm nicely balanced by a Libra rising. Leo is fire, Libra is air. So my rising sign, my mask, the face you would see of me before you get to know me well is Libra, which is balanced and kind of talkative and fun. Sometimes we're people pleasers, and I am guilty of that sometimes. We want everybody to be happy all the time, Libra rising. But then once you get to know me better, I'm a Leo, right? I'm fiery, I'm passionate, I've got a lot of pride, I'm very loyal. I can also be very stubborn. I can be kind of a know-it-all. I can be bossy. I can be telling people what to do. So there's who you are when we first meet each other, rising sign. Then there's who you are, who you really are, your sun sign. And that, it takes your whole life to become really who you are in your sun sign. That is your evolutionary pattern. That's who you will continue to evolve into and become for the rest of your life. And then your moon sign, which is the other thing I really want you to know before we start, that is your subconscious. That's kind of the program that's running the computer in a way behind the scenes. Mine is Sagittarius. Sagittarius moon people, that is the placement of the occult. We tend to be the people who are interested in magic and alchemy and all the things that you and I are talking about right now. It's also the placement of the constant quest for truth, which is true. My favorite thing to do on the weekends is watch documentaries on mysteries of the universe, of everything. I mean, Dave would tell you that's all I want to do on the weekend is just cuddle up with a blanket or a good book and read about the mysteries or learn about the mysteries. It's part of the reason why I have a PhD. I just loved school. I love books. I love collecting books. I love learning new languages. So your moon sign is kind of the program that runs the computer behind the scenes. It's all of your subconscious. It's kind of who you are at your core, and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that other people tend not to see about you. That's your moon sign. And so you also want to look at the elemental balance of those signs. You have 3 elemental possibilities between your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. I'm double fire with air. So, and I have very little earth and very little water in my chart. So one of the things I try to focus on is how do I bring more of earth and water into my chart? Well, you also do it through relationships. I married a man who I love. I've been with him for 20 years, 20 years this year, in fact. He's all earth and a little bit of water. Well, you know what? The universe filled in all my gaps. Then I gave birth to a son who's mostly earth with a little bit of fire, and a daughter who's mostly water with a little bit of fire. So you can see even in my family how I manifested a partner and 2 children who literally fill in my gaps. So when you look at us as a family unit holistically, we are an elemental balance. The senior leadership at Sage Goddess, earth, air, fire, water. Like we absolutely have that balance across the senior leadership team. We're a little skewed toward fire. My head of marketing and my head of product and production, or head of production, not head of product, are both Aries. And then Brooklyn, who heads product, is lots of air. And Dave, who runs our operations and all the behind the scenes, is mostly earth. My CFO, who just retired, almost all water. So we've had a lot of these different elemental balances going at Sage Goddess too. I want to encourage you this year to look at the balance in your life, in your home, and see where you need to pick up some of these other elemental energies, and then work with your platonic solids, for example, to bring in more of those energies. If you're missing water, start working with water, start drinking more water, start incorporating more essential oils into your practice. If you're missing air, start smudging and clearing, and maybe get yourself a beautiful feather, smudging fan, and start to find ways to bring air energy in. If you're missing fire, let's start to burn some stuff and bring in some of our sacral stones and some of our fiery magic. So it really depends on what your balance is, which your astrological chart, your natal chart will tell you that. And then once you figure it out from your own natal chart, we're certainly going to be talking about a lot of those things this year too, and giving you more clarity as we go. So my hope is, as we come to the conclusion of our intro to magic, like I said, this was a very quick 1-hour introduction to what could be really a master class. I mean, I seriously could sit here and record probably 12 hours at a minimum of content for you to try and get you up to speed and going. But I think if you know and can receive and internalize everything I've shared with you today, you'll have exactly what you need to get started and to be successful as we hit the ground running in January. I want to welcome you to Crystal Masters and to Soul Shift once again. Thank you for watching this Intro to Magic class. If you have any questions, please let us know. And we'd be more than happy to clarify or to follow up and give you additional insight and information. If you're in Soul Shift, please make sure you also watch the Introduction to Alchemy, which is your 1-hour introductory seminar in the ancient and magical art of transformation known as alchemy. So that's an important one for you to watch and catch up on too. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon in class. Have a great rest of December, everybody. We'll see you in January when we begin. See you soon.